Hello and welcome all dear student to this new video tutorial 13 in which we will discuss about the nested for loop in Python part 1. We already have discussed the iterative statements in Python in which we have studied how for loop works, how while loop works, and we have done number of programs using for loop and while loop. So the link of these videos can be found in the description given below. So let's move on to the today's topics. Today we will first discuss the homework given in tutorial 12. I have given you some questions on while loop in tutorial 12, so we will discuss those questions. Then we will discuss what is nested loops. What do you mean by nested loops? This nested loops help us to write more complex programs in Python. Then we will study how to write nested for loop and how the nested for loop works. And then we will discuss the categories of programs that can be written using nested for loop. So we will discuss what is nested loop, how to write nested for loop, how nested for loop works, and what are the different categories where you can use nested for loop. So let's start with the homework given in tutorial 12. The first question was, write a program to input any digit number, again any digit number. Again any digit number and find the sum of all its digits. For example, if number is 2534, then you have to find the sum of 4 plus 3 plus 5 plus 2 equal 14. See, if you find the sum of digits from left to right, then also the output will be 14. Now, extracting the digit from left to right is bit difficult. Now, we have already discussed how to extract the digit from right to left. Okay, this we have already discussed. So we will extract the digit from the right, the first digit from the right, then second digit from the right, then third digit from the right, and then fourth digit from the right, and we will find the sum of these digits. Okay, so let's do this program. First of all, open IDLE. You can open a new file or you can open the previous file and write the program again. So here I am opening the previous file and I am writing the program again. First of all, take input of any digit number. Now see, suppose n equal to int input, enter any digit number. Clear? Now, as we have already discussed, there are two logics, there are two methods to reverse a number. One is extracting the digits, one logic is to extract one digit at a time from right side, and second is store the reverse of a number in another variable. So the first logic is to extract one digit at a time from right side and other is to restore the reverse of a number. So in this program the first method will be useful because we have to extract one digit from the right and find their sum. So let's open the IDLE again. Now see, here I am. First I have taken the input of number n. Now I am I have to find the sum. So take one variable sum and initialize it with 0. Take one variable sum and initialize it with 0. Now execute the loop while n not equal to 0. While n not equal to 0. We have already discussed in the previous video why we write n not equal to 0, because initially the number is the number that you take input, and it get reduced each time and it becomes 0. So while n not equal to 0, first of all find the remainder by finding the modulus of that number by 10. Now suppose if n equal to 237, now here n will give 7, means n mod 10 will give 7, so rem will store 7. Now add this digit. So for finding the sum, you already know the formula, sum equal to sum plus remainders, the digit you are getting. So first time you will get 0 plus 7 equal to 7. Is that clear? Now reduce the number, means from 237 you have to remove 7. How will you remove it? You know, n equal to n integer, divide that number by 10. See, the program is done. Now outside the loop, because it is only a single output, you can write sum of digits equal to sum. See how is it executed? First of all, the number is 237. When 237 is divided by 10, we get 7 as remainder. Then in this line, sum equal to sum plus rem, the sum is 0, 0 plus 7 is 7. Now n divided by 10 gives n equal to, n means 237 divided by, means integer divided by 10, we get 23. Okay. Now again 23 mod 10, we get 3, and already we have sum 7, so 7 plus 3 equal to 10. Now 23 integer divided by 10 will give 2. Now again 2 mod 10 will give 2, and when this 2 is added in 10, we get 12. Now when 2 is integer divided by 10, we get 0, and the loop stops. Loop ends. So the sum of 7 plus 3 plus 2 is 12. So this is the logic. So what you are doing, you are extracting the digit from right, and the digit you are extracting, you are keep on adding that digit to the sum variable, and after the loop print the sum. Now run this program. This is the output window. Input any number digit 237. Then in program I have given 2534. So again run the program. 2534. You are getting sum of digits equal to 14. Now, so there are two ways in which you can reverse a number, either by extracting digit one by one from right, or by reversing the number and storing it in some variable. So in first program, in this program, we are using first logic. Now in second program, see, these programs are slightly difficult. So as soon as we proceed further in these labels, the programs keep on, means that the level of programs will keep on, means getting difficult. Okay, so write a program to input any digit number and check whether it is palindrome number or not. Now what is a palindrome number? Palindrome number is a number which you read from left to right or right to left is same. For example, 121, 1331, 34343, etc. This is palindrome number. Now in this, what is the logic? So first of all, prepare the logic. What are the steps? logic. The first logic is input number n. Second logic, reverse the number and store it in some variable. Okay, because in n you are getting the actual number, and now reverse the number and store it in some variable n. For example, if n is equal to, suppose if n is equal to 1 2 3, now store the number in some variable. Now you will get the reverse of this number as 321. Now compare. The third step is compare n. So here I am taking reverse the number, store it in some variable s. Okay. Now compare n with s. If n equal to s, then it is palindrome number, else not. See, these are the steps. First of all, take input of n. Suppose user has entered 123. Now reverse the number and store it in some variable. So in s you will get the reverse of that number. Now compare n with s. Okay. Now if n is equal to s, means it is palindrome number, else it is not a palindrome number. So let's implement this logic. Now this is the program. This is the output window. I am closing it. This is the program window. In this, first of all, I am taking the input of number n. So first step is take the input of number n. Okay, clear? So I am taking the input number n. Okay. Now second step is reverse the number. So for reversing the number, I am taking sum equal to 0. You know how to reverse a number. I have told you the formula in the last video, in the previous video. Find the remainder n mod 10 and then write the formula sum equal to sum into 10 plus remainder, and then write n equal to n integer divided by 10. Now after outside the loop, check whether this n is equal to sum. Whether this n is equal to sum. If it is equal to sum, write palindrome number, else print not palindrome number, not a palindrome number. So this loop is what this loop is doing. This loop is storing the reverse of a number in sum, in variable sum. Okay. So this loop is storing the reverse of a number in variable sum. Then after the loop has been ended, you are checking whether this number is equal to sum. It is palindrome. Now when see we have followed all the steps. First of all, we have taken input of n. Then we have reversed the number and stored it in some variable. We have reversed the number and stored it in variable sum. Then we are comparing n with sum. If it is equal to sum with palindrome. Now in this program there is one logical error. No syntax error. See, the program will run, but it will not give correct output. See, suppose enter any digit number 1 2 3, it is giving not palindrome. Now most of students take only one input and they decide their program is running correctly or not. Always run the program for all the possible cases. Now see, you have checked not a palindrome number. Also check a palindrome number also. Now 121 is a palindrome number. So the output should be palindrome number. See, here you are again getting not a palindrome number. It means there is something wrong in your logic. Now why it is not working? Now see, initially suppose the n you have taken is 121. Okay, listen it carefully. Suppose the value of n you have taken is 121. Now when this loop will be executed, the after the execution of loop, after the execution of loop, the n will become 0. The main important point is after the execution of loop the n will become 0, because here you are giving the condition while n not equal to 0, because you all know when you give 121 it gets reduced to 12, then it gets reduced to 1, and then it gets reduced to 0. So in this reverse logic, in finding the reverse of a program, the actual number gets reduced each time and at last it becomes 0. See, initially you have given 121, then it will become 12, then it will become 1, and at last it will become 0. So the final value of n will be 0. Now you are comparing n equal to sum. Now here n is 0 and you are comparing 0 equal to 121. Because in sum you will get 121. So this condition will always be false because n has become 0. The value of n is 0 here. Are you getting my point? Okay, I will explain it again. See, suppose the number you have taken input is 121. Okay, so now you are executing the loop and finding the reverse. You are storing the reverse. First of all, this number 121 will get reduced to 12, then it will get reduced to 1, and at last it will get reduced to 0 and the loop will stop. After execution of loop, sum will be 121 and the n will become 0. Now you are comparing 0 with sum, it will all this condition will always be false. So what is the solution here? It means as soon as you take input, store that number in some other variable. It means you are storing the actual number in some variable, yeah, in variable t. The logic is when as soon as you take input of number, store that actual number in variable t. Now after the loop has been executed, the n will become 0. After the execution of loop, n will be 0 but t will be 121. Okay, is that clear? After the execution of loop, n will be 0 but t will be 121. Now instead of comparing n, you compare t. Now here t is 121 and sum is also 121, so the result is palindrome number. So if you are comparing in programs, if you are comparing the actual value of n after the loop, then in such program always store that number in some variable, and after the loop is executed, compare that number with the actual sum. So what I have done, first of all I have taken input of number n, then I have taken input of number n, and then I have stored that number in some variable so that my n becomes 0 but the actual number remains in t. Then what we have done? Then We have taken one variable to find the reverse of number. Then we are executing the loop while n not equal to 0. ये लूप कब बंद होगा? जब n 0 होगा. We are finding the remainder n mod 10. Then we are applying the formula sum equal to sum into 10 plus remainder, and then we are integer dividing that number by 10. After the loop is terminated, now check if t means the actual number is equal to the reverse number. Okay. Now if you are having problem using sum, you can write rev means reverse. Here I can use rev equal to rev into trem. Now compare actual number with the reverse number. If it is equal, then print palindrome number, else print not palindrome, not a palindrome number. Now execute the loop. Now see, again I am executing the program. Let me remove this. Now again run the program. Now see, I am again entering 1 to 1. Now it is giving correct output. Now again check for 2 3 inputs. 3 2 2 3 4, not a palindrome number. Now check some bigger number. 1 3 3 1, palindrome number. Okay. So in programs where you have to check the value of n after the loop, always store the value of n in some variable, because when the loop ends, the n will become 0. Okay. So if you are comparing n with reverse number, it will always give incorrect output. So this is the logic. So now what is the logic? Logic is input number n. Second, store number n in some variable t. Now reverse the number and store in some variable, suppose rev. So in rev I have stored the number. Okay. In rev. Now compare t with rev. If t is equal to the reverse number, then it is palindrome, else not. So are you getting the logic? Now next program. Write a program to input any digit number. And now once again any digit number, and check whether it is an Armstrong number or not. Now what is the Armstrong number? Armstrong number is a number whose sum of cube of digits is equal to the number. It means if we find the cube of each digit, first find the cube of each digit of a number and then sum the cubes, you will get the same number. See, again you have to extract the digit from right to left. Okay, keep this in mind. In right to left you have to extract. See, first I have extracted 3, I have find the cube of 3. Then I have extracted 5, I have find the cube of 5. Then I have extracted 1, I have find the cube of 1. Now find the sum of 27 plus 125 plus 1, you will get 153. Now what is the logic? Similarly 370, similarly 371. There are so many numbers. Now see what is the logic. Now logic is input number n. Again store n number n in some variable t. Now reverse the number. Now here you don't have to reverse the number. In third step, extract digit one by one from right and find its cube, and then add it to the sum. So first of all, input number n, then store n in some variable t so that the actual number is stored in t. Now extract digit one by one from right and find its cube, and then add it to the sum. After loop ends, add it to the sum. तो यहाँ पे variable t added to the variable sum. We are using variable sum. After loop ends, compare if sum equal to, if t equal to sum. If yes, then print Armstrong number, else print not an Armstrong number. Okay, this is the logic. Now see, here I am writing the logic, this is the program. Now see, first of all, I am taking the input of number n. See, first logic, take input of number n. Now store the number n in some variable t. Now t equal to n. Now you can take any variable instead of t. It is up to you. Extract digit one by one from the right. How will you extract digit from one by one from the right? Now you have to find the sum also. So take one variable sum equal to 0. Now execute the loop while n not equal to 0. Find the remainder. It will give the last digit. By finding modulus of n by 10, you will get remainder. Now sum equal to sum plus. The formula for finding the sum is sum equal to sum plus. Now you have to find the cube of digit. So how can you find the cube of digit? There is an operator double asterisk. If you write sum plus r, you are only finding the sum of digit. You have to find the sum of cube of digit. Now reduce the number. Now after the loop ends, compare if t equal to sum. If it is, then print Armstrong number, else print not an Armstrong number. Is that clear? Okay. Now run this program. This is the program and this is my output window. Suppose 153. Excuse me. Here I have taken RAM. Okay. So what is the error? Here I have taken the name of variable RAM and I am writing R. So it will be RAM. Now again run the program. This is the output window. Now digit number 153, Armstrong number. Now give any other number 354, not an Armstrong number. Again give 370, Armstrong number. Again give 371, Armstrong number. So the program is running correctly. Okay. So the correct way of writing a program is to write logic. Now this logic you can do in your mind, you can write it on a paper and then implement it. So how many of you are getting why we are following the second step? Why we are storing the number in variable t? Because after the loop is executed, again see, I am writing here why we are storing n in t, because after the loop is terminated, the n becomes 0, and when we compare n with sum, it is it gives false always. Okay, so that's why we are storing the value of n in variable t before the loop. Is that clear? Okay, next. Now what is nested loop? What is nested loop? See, you have studied nested if else. It means you are writing one if else inside another if else. Similarly, when you write one loop inside another loop, when one loop is written inside another loop, it is called as nested loop. You can write for within another for. You can write while within a for. You can write for within a while. So it is very flexible. So loop can be any, while loop also, for loop also. Generally we use for loop. Now syntax see. First you have written outer loop. For variable in range, start, stop, and then step value. Now inside this outer loop you are writing inner loop. For variable 2 in range. See here you are writing variable 1. Here you are writing variable 2. These two variables cannot be same. For example, you are writing for A in range, so inside write for B in range. Don't use same variable names. Now inside the inner loop, so this is outer loop, this is inner loop. Now inside inner loop you have to write statement 1, 2 and so on. So this is the syntax for writing nested loop. This is the simple syntax, okay. Now there can be two for loops inside one for loop, there can be three for loops inside one for loop, or there can be one for loop inside another for and that for inside another for. So it can take any form. So the simple form is outer for loop, then inner for loop, and we have to write statement 1, 2, 3 inside inner for loop. Now how this nested for loop is executed? How this nested for loop is executed, okay. Working of nested for loop. As we all know that in mathematics also the inner brackets are executed first. So here also the inner loop is executed first. So the inner loop is executed for each value of outer loop variable. This I will tell you what this means. So let's move on to the example first, then we will discuss point 1, point 2, point 3. Now suppose the program is I am writing for A in range 1, 4, 1, and inside for A in range I am writing another loop for B in range 1, 3, 1, and inside loop B I am writing print B. Now see, this is outer loop, this is inner loop. Is that clear? So the outer loop is A1, A loop, because here the outer loop variable is A, here the inner loop variable is B. So this is outer loop, and within outer loop I am writing inner loop. Now first the inner loop will be executed. Okay. So execution starts from outer loop. Keep this in mind. Execution कहाँ से start होता है? Outer loop से start होता है. फिर कंट्रोल इनर लूप पे आता है. इनर लूप हर वैल्यू के लिए एग्जीक्यूट होता है. इट मींस इनर लूप इज एग्जीक्यूटेड. लेट मी erase this part. The inner loop is executed for each value of outer variable. This I will tell you how. Then second point, the inner loop is must end before the outer loop. See here, the inner loop ends before the outer loop. So this print B is will be treated inside inner loop. Now let's, before discussing these points, let's understand the execution of this loop. Now see here, we have written inner loop. Keep this in mind. Here we have written for A in range 1, 4, 1, and here we have written for B in range 1, 1, 3. So outer loop will be executed from 1 to 3 and inner loop will be executed from 1 to 2. Okay. So let's see the working of this loop. How is it executed? So for this I am opening MS Word. I will explain the logic using a table. Okay. Now see, this is A, this is stop value of A, this is B, stop value of B, this is stop value of A, this is small a and this is small b, and this will be, this is the output. Okay. Now see, understand. The outer loop you are executing from, 1 to 4. So first of all, the value of a will be 1. The value of a will be 1. Sorry, the value of a will be 1. Now it will check stop value of a. What is the stop value of a? It is 4. What is the stop value of b? It is 3. Okay. So stop value of a is equal to 4 and the stop value of b is equal to 3. It means the outer loop will stop when the stop value reaches, when the value of a reaches 4. The inner loop will stop when the value of b reaches 3. Okay. Now it is checking if 1 equal to 4. No. Okay. Now value of b is also 1. देखिए यहाँ पे फिर से समझिए. पहले आउटर लूप स्टार्ट हुआ, इसकी वैल्यू हुई 1. फिर यहाँ पे जब कंडीशन फॉल्स नहीं हुई, इट मींस 1 4 के इक्वल नहीं है, तो b की वैल्यू ऑफ 1 हुई. नाउ द कंट्रोल्स जंप्स ऑन टू द इनर लूप. अब b की वैल्यू 1 हुई. नाउ अब चेक हो रहा है इफ b इज इक्वल टू 3. नो. तो आउटपुट में b प्रिंट हुआ 1. पहला स्टेप क्लियर. नाउ द सेकेंड स्टेप इज, एक बार जब कंट्रोल इनर लूप में आता है तो पहले इनर लूप पूरा एग्जीक्यूट होता है. कीप दिस इन माइंड. एग्जीक्यूशन कहां से स्टार्ट हुआ? एग्जीक्यूशन स्टार्ट हुआ आउटर लूप से और फिर इनर लूप पे आया. तो आउटर लूप की वेरिएबल की वैल्यू थी 1. 1 4 के इक्वल नहीं है तो इनर लूप पे आया, b की वैल्यू 1 हुई. b 3 के इक्वल नहीं है तो b 1 प्रिंट हुआ. अब a की वैल्यू नहीं बढ़ेगी. Now the value of b will get increased by 1. अब b की वैल्यू बढ़ेगी, चेक होगा if b equal to 3, again no, it will print 2. Now the value of b will be 3. If b equal to 3, yes, now inner loop ends. Now inner loop will be terminated, not outer loop. Keep this in mind. Inner loop ends. Okay, this point is clear. So first the value of a is 1. चेक हुआ क्या 1 4 के इक्वल है, क्योंकि आउटर लूप की स्टॉप वैल्यू क्या दी थी 4, नहीं है तो इनर लूप पे आया, इनर लूप की वैल्यू हुई 1, स्टॉप वैल्यू इसकी क्या दी थी आपने 3, अगर b 3 है नहीं तो b 1 प्रिंट हुआ, फिर b 2 हुआ। तो एक बार जब कंट्रोल इनर लूप पे आता है, जैसे इनर लूप, ओके, तो एक बार कंट्रोल इनर लूप पे आता है तो पहले इनर लूप इंक्रीज होता है, तो जब तक इनर लूप कब तक चलेगा, जब तक वो फॉल्स नहीं हो जाता है। तो b equal to 3 हो गया, then it is inner loop ends. Okay, now again the value of outer loop will increase, again it will check if a equal to, means if 2 equal to 4 नहीं है तो again the value of b will be 1, again it will check if 1 equal to 3, no, again it will print 1, again the value of b will be 2, it will check if 2 equal to 3, no, it will print 2, again it will print 3, it will be value of b will become 3, if 3 equal to 3, yes, inner loop ends. Again the value of a is 3, if 3 equal to 3, no, again the value of b will be 1, again it will check if 1 equal to 3, no, again 1 will be printed, now the value of b will be 2, if 2 equal to 3, no, 2 will be printed, again the value of b will be 3, if 3 equal to 3, yes, again inner loop ends. Now again the outer loop will be 4, outer loop variable a will be 4. Now if 4 equal to, sorry, here it is 4, outer loop variable is 4, if 4 equal to 4, yes, now in outer loop ends, so what is the output? It will print 1 2 1 2 and 1 2. So what output we are getting? 1 2 1 2 and 1 2. तो इसमें इंपॉर्टेंट चीज क्या है, इसमें सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट चीज है कि पहले, फिर से मैं समझा रहा हूं, फिर समझिए, पहले आउटर लूप से एग्जीक्यूशन स्टार्ट होता है, फिर कंट्रोल इनर लूप पे आता है, फिर इनर लूप तब तक चलता है जब तक अंदर की कंडीशन फॉल्स नहीं हो जाती है, जब इनर लूप बंद होगा तब आउटर लूप वेरिएबल बढ़ेगा। तो अगर आप इस पॉइंट्स को डिस्कस करें तो यहाँ पे फर्स्ट इज द इनर लूप इज एग्जीक्यूटेड फॉर ईच वैल्यू ऑफ आउटर लूप, द इनर लूप इज एग्जीक्यूटेड फॉर ईच वैल्यू ऑफ आउटर लूप। देखिए कैसे, यहाँ पे इनर लूप जो बी का लूप एग्जीक्यूट हो रहा है वो 1 के लिए भी हो रहा है, फिर बी का लूप 2 के लिए भी हो रहा है, फिर बी का लूप 3 के लिए भी एग्जीक्यूट हो रहा है। तो इनर लूप ए की हर वैल्यू के लिए एग्जीक्यूट हो रहा है, इट मीन जब एक वैल्यू 1 थी तो ये इनर लूप एग्जीक्यूट हुआ, एक वैल्यू 2 थी तो इनर लूप एग्जीक्यूट हुआ, और जब एक वैल्यू 3 थी तो इनर लूप एग्जीक्यूट हुआ। सेकेंड पॉइंट, द इनर लूप मस्ट एंड बिफोर द आउटर लूप। सी हियर, पहले इनर लूप बंद होता है, फिर इनर लूप बंद होता है, इनर लूप बंद होता है, और फिर लास्ट में आउटर लूप बंद हो रहा है। ओके, थर्ड पॉइंट, द वैल्यू ऑफ आउटर लूप वेरिएबल विल चेंज ओनली आफ्टर द इनर लूप इज कंप्लीटली फिनिश्ड। द वैल्यू ऑफ आउटर लूप वेरिएबल विल चेंज ओनली आफ्टर द इनर लूप इज कंप्लीटली फिनिश्ड। देखिए यही हो रहा है, जब इनर लूप की बी की वैल्यू थी 1 तो 1 प्रिंट हुआ, 2 थी तो 2 प्रिंट हुआ, और जब 3 थी तो इनर लूप बंद हो गया, जब इनर लूप बंद हुआ तब a की वैल्यू 2 हुई। फिर से जब इनर लूप यहां पे बंद हो गया तब a की वैल्यू 3 हुई। जब इनर लूप बंद हो गया तब a की वैल्यू 4 हुई। और जब आउटर लूप ही बंद हो गया तो ये पूरा प्रोग्राम खत्म हो गया। इज दैट क्लियर? Now let's execute this program on Python IDLE. See, this is the program and this is Python IDLE. Here I am executing the program. For a in range 1 comma 4 comma 3, then for b in range 1 comma 3 comma 1, print b. Now run this program, you will get the same result. It means it will print 1 2 1 2 how many times? 3 times. Okay, so here you are getting, see the output you are getting is 1 2 1 2 and 1 2. ये 1 2 कब मिल रहा है? जब a की वैल्यू 1 है। ये 1 2 मिल रहा है जब a की वैल्यू 2 है। ये 1 2 मिल रहा है जब a की वैल्यू 3 है। See, in this you are getting 1 2 when the value of a is 1, then you are getting 1 2 when the value of a is 2, and then you are getting 1 2 when the value of a is 3. So the nested loop programs are a bit complex. So if for loop is not clear to all of you, then you may not be able to write programs using nested loop. Because in simple for loop there is only one loop, and in nested for loop is there is one for loop inside another for loop. So first the inner for loop is executed, then outer for loop is executed. Okay. So this is the logic of the program. Is this clear? Keep this in mind. The inner loop is executed for each value of outer loop. जब a की वैल्यू 1 थी तो इनर लूप चला 1 2 दो बार चला, 3 पे बाहर आ गया। फिर जब वैल्यू 2 थी तो फिर से 1 2 प्रिंट हुआ, बाहर आ गया। फिर 3 थी तो 1 2 प्रिंट हुआ, बाहर आ गया। और जब आउटर लूप फॉल्स हुआ तो आउटर लूप ही बंद हो गया। So what programs can be written using? Now categories of programs that can be written using nested for loop. There are three categories of programs. Number one, to check and print a given number in a given range. For example, आपने अभी प्राइम नंबर का प्रोग्राम किया था. How to check a one number means how to check a single number is prime or not. Now if I ask you to print all the prime numbers from 1 to 50, if I ask you to print all the prime numbers from 1 to 50, you have to use nested for loop. Okay. If I ask you how to print all the perfect numbers from 1 to 50, you have to use nested for loop. If I ask you to print all the Armstrong numbers from 1 to 500, you have to use nested while loop. So it is complex programming. Type 2. To check, to print triangular patterns like this only. See, triangular patterns like this. 1, then in second line 1 2, then 1 2 3, 1 2 3 4, 1 2 3 4 5, or you can write 5 4 3 2 1, then 5 4 3 2, then 5 4 3, then 5 4, then 5, then 1 2 3 4 5, 1 2 3 4, 1 2 3 1 2 1, or you can print the triangle of some symbols, suppose asterisk, then double asterisk, then triple asterisk, then 4 asterisk, then 5 asterisks. Okay, so these triangular patterns, such type of programs can be done using nested for loop. And the third is to print the sum of given series in which either numerator or denominator contains factorial of a number. See, you all have done factorial of a number. See, in the last video lecture, I have emphasize that you should know three programs by heart. First is how to check prime number, how to check perfect number, and how to find the factorial of a number. Okay? Suppose if the series is like this only, if I ask you to print sum equal to, find the sum of the series, sum equal to 1 upon 1 factorial plus 2 upon 2 factorial. So it is in denominator, it is factorial. So if your series contains factorial, it means you have to use nested for loop, or your numerator contains factorial. For example, 1 factorial upon 1 plus 2 factorial upon 2 plus 3 factorial upon 3. So such type of series programs you can do using nested for loop. So in the next video we will discuss type 1 and type 2 categories. Okay. So here I am giving you some homework also. You can note down the homework. I am giving you some programs. If you can do it. Write a program to input any digit number and find the sum of even digits. Sum of digits that are odd. Okay. Example, if n equal to 2, 1, 4, 6, 7, then sum equal to, now from right 7 is odd, then 1 is odd. So sum should be 8. Okay. Now second program, write a program to input any digit number and find the sum of squares, or you can find the sum of, okay, I'm giving you one program on loop. Write a program to input 5 numbers and find the largest number. Okay, now the hint is, don't use for loop, using for loop. Okay, means now don't write such type of program. You are taking 5 variables a b c d and then you are using if elif. Okay, don't use don't use if elif. In third program, write a program to input 5 numbers and print the smallest number. The hint is same. And in fourth program, write a program to input marks of 10 student, input total marks obtained by 10 students out of 100. Or let's make it 5 students. Okay, 5 students out of 100 each, and find the average, and find their average. Okay, the hint is use for loop. So these 4 programs you have to do it on your own in your homework. Okay, and remember one thing again, प्रोग्रामिंग उन्हीं स्टूडेंट्स को आ पाएगी, उन्हीं को प्रोग्रामिंग आएगी जो प्रोग्राम्स खुद से प्रैक्टिस करेंगे कॉपी पे. ओनली बाय सीइंग द वीडियो एंड राइटिंग इट डाउन इन योर फेयर कॉपी विल नॉट हेल्प यू. उससे नोट्स तो बन जाएंगे लेकिन प्रोग्रामिंग नहीं आएगी. प्रोग्राम तभी आएगी कि जितने प्रोग्राम हम डिस्कस करते हैं, डू इट ऑन योर ओन विदाउट सीइंग इट फ्रॉम द वीडियो और योर फेयर कॉपी. ओके, so that's all for today. In the next video we will study nested for loop in Python part 2. So thank you for watching. Have a nice day. Take care and goodbye.